Well, with us today, we have the one and only Phillip Kennedy Johnson, Sergeant First Class in the Army, a musician. He also happens to be a very popular comic book writer of everybody in this room. Action Comics, Superman, as well as the Alien franchise that's currently with Marvel. He joins us now. How are you, Mr. Johnson?
I'm awesome, Frank. Thanks for having me, you guys.
Hey, what's going on, man?
We
Yeah,
appreciate you
nothing.
taking the
Pleasure
time to
here.
be here with us today.
Yeah, dude, my pleasure.
So I've seen your love of music, and with regards to Last God, the influence of music, and that you were a musician. How does that play a part in writing?
Let's see. With something like The Last God, it was kind of my way into high fantasy. Like it's one of the things that really spoke to me about Tolkien's work back when I was a kid, and ever since then, is that he has all these um, songs and poems and little stories and things worked into his prose writing, like as part of the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, all this Middle Earth work had those things worked in there, and it just made the world feel so much older and more rich, and it just it was a concise way to make the world feel legit. You could just tell that the world's been around for a long time, and I mean, I know that whole world was built around his love of language. Like he invented these languages,
Right.
just sort of for fun, and then the mythology kind of grew around that.
Mm-hmm.
For me, if his way in was language, my way in was music. I thought that some of those little songs, like "Petal Black, Petal Gray" in issue 1, and some of the other ones that showed up later, the Grendel poem and those things, like those were kind of the seeds that a lot of the world sort of grew up around.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I love that because when I read it, the first thing I thought was, felt like I was reading a Lord of the Rings book. I was like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yep.
there's the songs in this comic. That's sick, and that's it. I love that that's where it comes from because I love those too, and it's super cool to see that that's where it came from. I
When
love
you
that.
when you write these songs, because I've always wondered this about Tolkien as well, like when he's writing these things, do you have a melody in mind for these songs, or is it, I know we're all supposed to openly interpret how the song, the flow, the music, the chords, all that's supposed to be in our own mind, but for you, do you have the melody and all the things in your head when you go into writing a song like that for the series?
I do, and actually, in the back of the issues, the single issues, and sometimes even on the page, the melody is in notation on the page where you can read it and play it if you want to, or
That's
sing
fantastic.
That's awesome.
there was I went probably a little overboard with some of that. I wanted not only the music to be, not only that I want a melody there, I wanted the readers to be able to to sing it. I also wanted, it felt a little bit fakey to give them to write the music in Western notation and like legit real life notation. It's like, well, they're not going to use that in that world, so I'll
Right.
make up my own
Right.
notation, and I did that. So if you go to the back of the issue for example, in issue 1, Petal Black and Petal Gray, that song that they're singing while they're getting drunk before they get eviscerated. That song keeps showing up in that issue, and if you read it at the end, there's you can read it in Mindelen notation, which is the one that I made up. That's set in that. That's what they read there. The few who can read music can read it in Mindelen notation, and that's all in the back. And then they have it in Guild notation, which is that's like our notation basically.
Right.
Like I just took out the treble clef and made it read like we would read it here, so that people who can read music can play it themselves. And we actually even made trailers.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
We made trailers as well for the first 3 issues that recorded some of those songs. So
That's
I kind of
sick.
remember that. I think I remember
the
seeing
first
at least
issue
one
I
of them.
wrote I'm sorry, go ahead, Frank.
No, I was going to say I kind of remember seeing one of those trailers.
Oh, cool. Yeah, there was a song. Let's see. The first one was just instrumental, just a song that I made up that was not actually in the books anywhere. Just called The Last God Overture, that we recorded the first trailer with. But then the second one, we were pushing the first issue specifically with a song that recorded Petal Black, and then for the third issue we recorded Sleep,
Nice.
which I want to say was in the second issue. Yeah, there's a song. Oh no, I guess maybe it's in the third one. See, Sleep was a poem, like a little lullaby kind of, that the Elva can can like a spell, kind of like a spell song that they use to shepherd the dying into the land of the dead.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Mhm.
And it we discovered that there's an equivalent human poem, which is weird because there's like there shouldn't be any crossover between human and elven cultures. So it kind of is this little mystery about why they have it in both cultures. But
That's
there's
really cool.
Wow.
I like
there's
that a
an
lot.
English version in which it it kind of suggests a little more connection than we thought was there. And I made up a little poetry form somewhere between. I really like iambic pentameter that you see like in Shakespeare's
Mhm.
work,
Yeah.
sonnets and
Yeah.
stuff. But I also I wanted to use elements of haiku where it's like
Nice.
5-7-5 all the time.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
There's a really nice little elegance to that, and I like that haiku tends to have like starts in a strong beat, whereas iambic pentameter starts on a weak beat. And like iambic pentameter, it's always weak, strong, all the way through the 10 syllables in each line. And it's so long, 10 syllables is so long, it doesn't lend itself to music all that well, to lyrics. So I thought that it would be nice to have. Let's see, I think it's 5-6-8-6. I think is the way we did it. So it's the first one starts in a strong beat, and then it's more even after that. So that gives us the lyrics like goddess. Let's see, goddess, give me sleep, which is let's see, 5. Protect my flock, I pray. And then there's 8 and 6. How the rest of them go? I forget the lyrics offhand. Anyway,
No, I love this. This is
got a melody.
This is this has me stuck. This is awesome,
cool.
man.
check out my YouTube, and you can find the trailer to The Last God, in which the song "Sleep" appears, and you can hear several stanzas. Plus, the sheet music's in the back of issue 3.
Oh man, that's so.
And what is your YouTube? Just your name?
Just my name, yeah. Find me by my name.
Fantastic.
That's so cool.
So you also served in the military, or you're active? Is that correct?
I'm active, yeah.
Okay,
That's awesome,
you're
man.
Sergeant First Class.
I am. I just got picked up for Master Sergeant, actually. Which is
Wow!
kinda cool.
Congratulations.
Awesome.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Appreciate that.
With your experience in the military, and then also you have some MMA experience.
Mhm.
How does that influence writing, or just like an approach overall, I guess, to like maybe a story arc or something that you could be going in? Like, I mean, it's not in the same level, but with regards to this war level type of thing that Superman is experiencing, how does that sort of play in or factor in, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
The Army element does come into play in some of my work, not all. There's elements of the Afghanistan thing that's kind of affect the story a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I have my opinions about some of that. I'm due to the Uniform Code of Military Justice, I'm not permitted to talk about my political views outright.
Of course.
Right.
But I can write fictional comic books.
Sure, that's true.
So,
This is a fact.
so sometimes those things come out a little bit in my work. I wrote a story in 2016 called Warlords of Appalachia, and the first issue came out.
Good.
The first issue came out in October, and there's a very Trumpy character in there. It's all my opinion about the political divisions that were happening in this country at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Takes place after the Second American Civil War. It's kind of a way to, get my thoughts out there in a more subtle way.
Of course.
The big thing that you're going to see reflected in the Warworld saga, though, in Action Comics, is my my take on human trafficking and slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You can see that clearly
For sure.
already.
Yeah, thanks. You're gonna see a lot more of that for sure. It's the way that I wanted to set Mongol apart from other similar big bruiser type aliens like Thanos and Darkseid and guys that at a glance people might think are kind of similar.
Right.
I wanted Mongol to really set himself apart in some way, and my way into that was to build this kind of cult of slavery around him and make him a slaver. And that to me, there was like kind of a throwaway line in Bendis's run where he talks about he makes like there's the relationship between Mongol and the Warzoons used to be a little more complicated, but these days it's all kind of been streamlined, and it makes it look like Mongol is himself a Warzoon, like that's his species. And now that we know that, it actually does kind of make it easier. And knowing that he's a Warzone, that he comes from this culture and that they live on Warworld is their home planet and all that, or at least a home planet. That kind of made the whole thing a little bit simpler. So now I wanted to establish a species, like a culture where the concept of dominance is central to like everything.
Yeah.
The way that the Fremen on Dune is all about water scarcity.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted the concept of kicking ass and killing others and taking what's theirs to be like the central tenet of everything that they do, like their religion, the way they gather food, the way they mate, everything.
Wow.
So Mongol is just kind of like the apex of that pyramid.
It's
Like,
so cool.
It's a title, not a name.
Ah.
And I love the way you can see that Thao Law, she is very much, she doesn't want to be like, and I think like now that hearing you say it, it makes perfect sense. It fits in perfectly with the human trafficking kind of thing. Thao Law, she clearly doesn't like Mongol and what they stand for, but she feels like she has to do what his bidding. She has to, and
Yeah.
there's no, she's like, sorry.
There's no ifs,
At the
ands, or
end of
buts.
1034, I believe it was, she's like, I'm sorry, Lois, but I have to do this. I have to. And she doesn't. It makes it seem like she really doesn't have a choice. And I'm super excited to see where that goes.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I mean, from her perspective, he owns her, and she's starting to feel more comfortable on Earth until she realizes that she's not safe. Like she's starting to feel more safe with them, and she's starting to feel a little bit of regret. Like she breaks the gift that Lois had given her.
Mm-hmm.
She has this little angry attack and breaks the thing, and then she feels bad about it. And she's talking to her comatose friends about it. She's starting to get a little more comfy, letting herself feel emotions and stuff. And then they, the other Warzoons appear, and and they remind her, like, you're not free. Like, we still have you. He's still watching you.
And then even after
this thing.
Sorry. And then even after she small little spoiler, she takes them out, she still feels like she has to do what they came to force her to do.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. Because they can get to her anytime, and she knows that now. So yeah, it's as I learned more and more about human trafficking, I found, a lot of trafficking victims, like sex trafficking victims, don't know that they have a pimp. They don't know they have a trafficker.
Right.
They think that they have a boyfriend.
Right.
Right.
And that's how they see them, and then they have this loyalty there that obviously doesn't go both ways. But it's there's this invisible chain that they just can't ever shake.
Yeah.
And I met this one woman who told me once. She said, if the cops had kicked in the door in the middle of the night, put a gun to my trafficker's head, and asked me, "Are you being trafficked?" I would have said no. And I just had this kind of throw up my hands moment, like, what the fuck are we doing this for? Like, how are we supposed to save anybody? Like it just seemed like this impossible task.
Right.
I'll never forget that. And that's going to come through in this book if it hasn't already. Like there's this chain that they value that they can't ever lose. Like they're very proud of their relationship with this person. Like, hey, if I just save up enough money to get, we're going to get married and everything's going to be good. They just cling to this chain like it's their only thing of value.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Total manipulation.
Wow.
Yeah. Like so that's gonna be all over this book. Their chain on Warworld is all important. And
That's
they
so crazy.
for every victory they take a link of the chain from the other person and they get it themselves. They're trying to get it as long as they can get it. So they have more. At first it's all about getting more freedom to move. So if you only have a couple of links, you're like this.
Right.
And you win and you win and you win, and now you can move your arms freely. But now you've got this weight you've got to drag around with you. But it's the sign of honor and respect. It's all this big mind game to make them feel like it's valuable.
We have a ton of mediums that throw up the mirror to us as a society and kind of go like, hey, you might want to take a look at yourself and take a look as a whole, as a people. And I can't think of a better series that you have right now, Last Sons of America. If you haven't picked up a copy of these books, please go out to your local comic book shop and get them, or visit Phillip Kennedy Johnson's website, phillipkennedyjohnson.com. Look for that title. It's absolutely amazing. I've been blown away by it. And hearing you talk about sort of human trafficking and all the things that are going on in our country now, and then reading the story, you kind of go, I see what's happening here. And it's also currently in development at Netflix. So I was wondering, what was the process like to get where it is now for you and with the guys at Netflix? Well, of course, knowing that you have non-disclosure agreements and all the things that you can't say, but what was that process like when they approached you and said, hey, like, we want to do this, we love this story, and everything that went after that?
Yeah, thanks, dude. I appreciate you plugging the book. I'm very proud of it. That was my first published book, actually, at least on like in print.
Yep.
Yeah, that was another one that came right out of I was actively doing a ton of human trafficking at the time, and there was this earthquake in Haiti that happened in 2010, and that was when I was just kind of coming up with the idea. And that's so when the earthquake happened, there was this church group from the United States that went down there to ostensibly to find families for orphaned kids. But they ended up taking a lot of kids who still had families and tried to smuggle them out of the country. And there was this big stink. And that kind of got me, like, I thought I kind of knew it all about human trafficking back then, but I had not really found out anything about the for-profit adoption industry. And that kind of sent me down that rabbit hole of learning how that whole thing worked. And there's almost nothing in that book that's made up. The concept is that what if Americans couldn't have kids anymore, but others could, and so it kind of makes kids like money around the world. He makes human trafficking legit. That's just the way that we have families after that. We're buying kids every place, and that's really actually how it works. Like, there's a lot of places where people just sell their kids, and those are the children that end up getting adopted here. And it's a super complicated gray situation because, I mean, there are places where the people just can't afford to raise them, and we need families here. So, I mean, we can't exactly just shut it down the way it's happening now, but it does create some pretty messed up situations overseas. Anyway, that aside, so we made the book. It was a story I felt very strongly about. At some point, God, I'm drawing a blank on his name. Peter Dinklage read it, and anyone who read the book, he's totally in there.
Yep. Oh yes. Oh yes.
The artist, was heavily influenced by Peter Dinklage for one of the characters. It follows these two brothers, and one of them is two of the last natural-born citizens in the United States who are now working as adoption agents overseas, basically child retailers, just grabbing kids. And one of them looks like Dinklage. And so Dinklage reads this book and sees himself on the page. And I even told Matthew when we were drawing this, I was like, I think you might want to doll this up a little bit. It looks just like we're going to get sued.
We're using someone's likeness.
He's like, well, I'll make one of his arms shorter.
Perfect. Done.
He just kind of messed with it a little bit. It's still clearly him. I mean, it's not as close as it was, but anyway, I digress. So we put the book out there, and Dinklage read it, and instead of suing us, he liked it.
Oh wow!
And he wanted to be a part of it. And he's good friends with Matt Reeves, who is the director of the upcoming Batman film, and the Planet of the Apes films that were made more recently, and some other stuff.
Bunch of fantastic stuff.
Yeah.
He's got his own production company, and they wanted to do it. And so somebody reached out to somebody else, and we kind of got the whole thing set up. And so Matt Reeves' production company set up to produce that film.
Wow.
And with a very sought after indie director named Josh Mon to direct, and with Dinklage to star.
Wow.
So yeah, it's pretty rad.
Full circle.
Funny,
Awesome.
you went from thinking you might get in some legal trouble to possibly having a
Possibly
television
a green
show.
light
Yeah.
on. This is amazing.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
All the Matthew and his over-reliance on photo ref.
Yeah, seriously. Well, we mentioned at the intro of the show, you are an Eisner Award nominee for the short story The Forgotten Princess. So what does it mean to you to receive a nomination like that?
Oh, dude, it was amazing. I was almost embarrassed because at the time there were a lot of nominees. All the nominees were about these really important social issues, or like I think the one that won ended up being a tribute to a beloved person in the comic industry. And then I had like Forgotten Princess as an Adventure Time, a short story. And I was like, damn, dude, if I win this, I'm going to be really embarrassed. Like snatching victory out of the jaws of like some really important story about,
right.
I can't remember what the other stories were about. It's been a few years now, but yeah, I was really surprised, honestly. I'm very proud of that story. The artist was something Sandoval. I've not worked with him since then, but he was really great. Oh shit, I'm drawing a blank. Not Arturo Sandoval. He's a trumpet player. But I forget. Damn it! Now I feel like a jerk. Anyway, it was so good, beautifully drawn, and very stylized, but really creepy. And the story itself is creepy. And there's this one big spread where, let's see, not Jake, but oh my God, not Jake the dog. What's the name of the kid?
Oh man, I wish I watched more Adventure Time.
Finn.
Yeah, there you go. There it
is.
Finn is going through the doorway into this other kingdom, the Forgotten Kingdom, and it's kind of the whole spread spirals down toward, like, you have to keep spinning the book to read the text.
Nice.
They did something similar with the Court of Owls, Scott Snyder and Capullo. I love when you do stuff like that,
Yeah,
kind of make you interact with the writing a little bit more.
Yeah, they do it page by page. And
Yeah.
this one, it was only like a 6-page short, so that all happened on a 2-page spread. So you're just like literally rotating the book, like,
I love that.
continuously to read it, like a swirl, like you're going down a toilet, basically.
So cool.
Yeah, it was really fun, and I'd never seen that in a comic before, and the artist was just an incredible talent. I gotta get a hold of that guy again. We gotta do something together again, because he was amazing.
That's awesome.
Antonio Sandoval.
Antonio, thank you. Yeah,
There it goes.
kept thinking Arturo. Yeah, he's amazing. He's done a lot of he's done a lot of work for publishers you might not have seen. I've got one here somewhere, like like a really creepy kind of fantasy thing that he did. It was just beautifully done. I think that one was nominated for an Eisner too.
Nice.
Yeah, he's amazing.
And so after getting into that, we want to go back a little bit to the Superman stuff. So for me in particular, I had read some of your stuff, and I saw that you were going to be on the Future State book, and I was like, oh, like, I'm going to get all the Future State stuff, but this is like, I'm reading this one when I get home.
Solidifies it.
Because
Yeah.
I had really enjoyed your work from before. And so I get home and I read the War World, or which one? I'm forgetting. Yeah, Worlds of War. And I loved it. You clearly grasped what made Superman, especially with the young girl who's like, everyone's like, oh, Superman's nothing without his powers, and she's like, she's mad. She's like, no, you don't get it. You just do not get it. And she's like explaining to the other little boy why Superman is more than his powers, in line with, we're also seeing him fight on War World, all these people without his powers, and he's holding his own. And Mongo's like, why won't you quit? And Superman's like, I never quit. I won't quit. And I was like, this dude gets the character that I love.
Yeah, we even talked about it. We said, this is the first time in a long time we've had someone who understands Superman as good as Grant Morrison. Like, we were like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. Finally, someone who gets it. So we've all been really pumped here.
Yeah. I was like, I was blown away. And I wanted to know how you ended up on the Superman book, how that process kind of works, and then how you started putting your story together. And you've already talked a little bit about the human trafficking thing. It sounds like that was probably from the inception of it. And just curious as to how excited were you when you found out you were going to be writing Action Comics, and B, like, what the process was like.
Oh man, when I got the call, it was via email, thank God. Because I did straight up, like, Chuck Liddell around the room.
Yeah, let's go.
The Iceman, baby.
Yeah, I was so friggin' stoked. And the reason it came, I think, is partly because The Last God. I think when people noticed in the office how much work I put into the world building, and how like I was putting 10 times too much time on every issue, and like, writing songs and journals and books of gospel and everything for every issue, stuff that wasn't even going on the page half the time.
Right.
They, at the same time, this is when 5G was coming together. Do you guys know much about that?
No.
5G was going to be this massive event at DC, where basically it was going to set the timeline in stone, where instead of the way things are now, where Superman's just been around and pretty young since the 30s, we lock everyone into a specific time. Everyone ages in real time. So if you're seeing Batman at age 30, that is happening in the 70s or whatever. And when we get to modern day, Batman is super old. Batman's going to be somebody else. And then he is this age in this year. And it locks everybody into a certain age at a fixed time.
Right.
Super ballsy.
Yeah. For sure.
And not everyone, like, it makes New 52 look tame.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
Sure.
And that got people riled up.
Yeah. It never came around. They you know, they booted Didio before that all came together. But at the time they were going to do it and they were going to make it like the way forward. And man, it was just such a crazy swing. And they when they saw The Last God, they were like, well, let's get this guy to show run our cosmic line. And so they approached me about, I mean, it's kind of I'm a relative no name for getting such a big call, but they wanted me to kind of run, sort of be the central voice for the cosmic stuff that they wanted to do. And they had an idea for different books. And I probably shouldn't mention those because some of those might come to fruition someday. But so I went to, I was doing that. I was going to be involved in, I think, 3 books for 5G. And then 5G kind of fell apart. But I mean, there were so many awesome ideas coming together for 5G. I mean, some of the stuff that I read for that, dude, I was so excited to see some of those books come together. Regardless of my feelings about the whole event, there were some books coming out that were going to be super rad. So then they were like, well, hey, would you want to pitch for Superman with some of these ideas that you had coming together? I'm like, hell yeah. So
of course.
How do I say no to that?
yeah. So I pitched and they were like, we want you to do Superman and action both.
Wow.
And I just completely lost my shit. Because I mean, he's my first hero, you know, straight up. I wanted to be Superman as a child, and kind of ever after that.
Right.
I just remember watching that movie when I was a little kid, the '78 film, and just seeing the credits roll over me. Like there's that 3D thing that happens where the S crest and the credits all come at you, and John Williams' music is playing, and just that electric feeling that I still get when I see it. And I got to see with my son. A couple of years ago, they re-released it for the 40th anniversary. And I took my son to see that in the theater. It was so incredible.
That's so awesome.
That's very cool.
Yeah, I had a similar relationship with my dad for Superman, and so that's why it's always been so important to me, and that's why I adore your stuff, because it's so, and it's clear. It shows that you grew up with that character and you love him in the way that a lot of the people who read him do. It shows on the page everything. It's fantastic. And we wanted to talk a little bit about, like, is there anything you can give us a little sneak peek for Action Comics 1036 and the War World series, what we can expect maybe a little bit, and from like Jonathan, and I know they're kind of spread out across books right now with Superman and the Authority and Son of Kal-El from Tom Taylor and Morrison respectively. But is there any sneak peeks you can give us or tell us a little bit about what maybe we have to come?
Yeah, let me think. So Superman's got his crew now. He's got the Authority, because as we established in the War World Rising arc, the Justice League. Oh man, I guess I can't spoil everything because it's some of that's coming together still in 1035. So 1035, we'll see. That's like 1035 is the end of that arc, and all the pieces are on the board then for the War World saga.
Nice.
And I mean, I'm not spoiling anything to tell you that the Justice League's not going to War World, but you'll see why between what just happened in 1034 and what's coming in 1035. Just
so excited.
Sick.
So he's got his own crew,
Yeah.
and we'll see that. And actually, I'm exploring that in another one-shot that comes out in November as well. There's a one-shot coming out that just got announced called Batman, Superman, and the Authority, where it kind of takes the new team on a test run, kind of. And that's a really fun story.
Well, yeah, and because at the end of 1034 is out, so I feel like I don't feel bad
talking about it.
Batman was very much the artifact that came with the Warzoons that the Atlanteans had. Batman was like, yo, we need to take care of this. And Superman was like, no, actually, War World is the issue. And then Superman was like, you know what? I have to deal with War World right now. I can't deal with the U.S. Army and the Atlanteans fighting right now. So I'm going to go take this.
Yeah.
And Arthur was waiting down there, and he's like, look, I thought it was going to be Bruce, and I maybe could have stopped him from taking it. I can't stop you from taking it. But this changes things.
Right.
This changes things.
For sure.
And so I'm happy to hear that Batman might actually have a little more to do with Superman. That's exciting.
Yeah, dude. Writing those two together is so cool. I mean, they're such different characters, but they also have the oldest relationship in comics, and I just love
sure.
I love just kind of suggesting this history that they have, knowing everything they've been through since the old days. It's just so fun putting that on the page. So yeah, putting them on the page alongside the Authority 2. Plus, Batman and Midnight have never met on the page.
No, they
before.
haven't.
Right.
So that's in this issue as well.
And the last little part I want to touch on there. So I was curious. So Worlds of War is future state. It's a far-flung future kind of. Could we possibly, with this Action Comics arc, be leading to that, or maybe not? Like, is this set in stone future or a possible future from what's going on right now?
I don't want to say that everything that was in future state is going to happen exactly as it was on the page. Because I mean, here's the thing. I didn't want future state when I got the green light to do my Action Comics and Superman issues, and that Action Comics was going to be this big event that went on forever. I didn't want the future state story to be just like a throwaway, doesn't count kind of thing.
Right.
I wanted it to be something that basically I wanted to give readers a glimpse of what was coming.
Nice.
Right.
And give them like a real taste of what my run is going to be. And so it's going to build up to those issues basically is what I'm saying.
I'm so excited.
I'm not going to tell you that it's going to be exactly that way. Like every moment is going to be retold exactly in action. Like we're not going to see that exact moment. Those moments that you see on the page are kind of very representative of what's coming. I'm not going to say that Superman's going to be stuck on Warworld for 10 years because I mean in the book it kind of suggests it doesn't specifically say how many years has passed. I think somewhere in publicity DC said this is going to be 10 years down the future. That was not the case when I wrote this story.
Mm.
So when I saw that on CBR or wherever it was, I was like, well, I never said that. I'm like, I'm just going to pretend that's not there because that's not what I said.
Right.
But there's also this memorial that it does acknowledge that people on Earth know that he's Clark Kent. So the stuff that came out in the Bendis run where the secret identity being gone, that's still the case in my run. Let's see, what else should I say? So that's why in the future state issues, Smallville has kind of become like this Roswell type, like touristy place.
Yeah.
Where like they just call it Krypton now, and everyone's out in the streets selling like bits of Kryptonian junk. Because that's how Roswell is. If you've ever been there, like if you go into the Arby's, it's the alien Arby's. Like
everything.
Everything's alien.
Has alien crap all over it. And it's fine, it's cool, it's fun, but it's definitely just absorbed that town. No one remembers what Roswell was like before the supposed landing. So anyway, but yeah, I wanted the future state issues to be a taste of what's coming, about like an example of what's coming in my runs, because it was this big change of the guard. The fact that Bendis had both books, and then I was getting both books, even though it was only for a short time. I wanted to make it like a statement. I also wanted it to be kind of a love letter to Superman 400 that I read when I was a kid, because I think it's kind of the high mark at the time. It was the high mark for what Superman could be in my mind. It was this issue. It's an anthology of short stories. And the theme that tied them all together was Superman in the future. That's what the whole thing was about.
Right.
So you'd have all these short stories by different creators, different artists especially, each one giving a very different vision of Superman in the future. And it just blew me away. It was so creative. Some of the stories were so out of the box. I just loved it. And it gave me a just bigger sense of what Superman was. And that anthology gave me a bigger sense of what Superman meant to other people. It wasn't just about him. It was also about the world and how he impacted everything on Earth, but also across the universe. So I wanted to show all that. So these two issues of Worlds of War, the first issue was always meant to be, it was meant to tell us what Superman meant to us. Okay, so we see the memorial in the field where his rocket landed. And these people that Superman saved in his lifetime come together to remember him and talk about how they saved him and give little theories about where they think he is now. And it's like this religious moment for them. And we see all these myths and fables about what happened to him. And they get more and more creative and crazy until at the very end, we see where he actually is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they're like, we see that last little troll at the end, like, no, Superman, you got it all wrong. Superman's the best because he's the biggest and the strongest and the most powerful. And that's why he always wins. And then we see him literally getting dragged through the mud as a slave on Warworld.
I love that part so much.
Then we get to see, is he still Superman without his powers? And then the next issue, we see what we mean to him. We see what we learn that he inspired us the same way excuse me, we learned that we inspired him the same way that he inspired us. And he tells the story. We read this op-ed that Clark Kent wrote at the Daily Planet during his lifetime here, about like a personal interest piece about a homeless man who died and how much Clark Kent admired him.
Yeah.
And how he wants us all to be like him. The person that we would, some people would see in regard as a failure, that died without a pot to piss in, with no friends or family and no money and nothing. And Superman just holds him in the highest regard.
Mm-hmm.
And we see what it means to him to be human. And while we're reading those words that he wrote, we also see him fighting.
Yep.
Holding
hopeless
it.
battle.
I don't usually, I'm not one that usually gets choked up reading, but reading that and seeing, because it's the little girl who's recounting it, if I'm not mistaken, and she's talking about the article, and then you're seeing him fight for his life and for everybody else with no powers. And I'm like reading it, getting choked up. I'm like, hold on, I need to put this book down for a second.
Yeah, like give me a second.
I'm about to ruin it with my tears.
Dude, thanks, I appreciate that a lot. I mean, that story, that character, Edgar Waters, that Clark was writing about, is based on real people. I mean, the name is pretty clear. It's about Medgar Evers, a great civil rights leader, who was murdered for the stances that he took, for the ballsy stance that he took during his lifetime, who was also himself a veteran, like the character is in the story.
Wow.
Someone who volunteered to fight in World War II because his brother was there.
Wow.
So he went to volunteer for a country that gave him pretty rough go. And then he came home and continued to fight for us until he was eventually killed for it. And also homeless veterans that I met during my human trafficking days. There's this old woman that I met named Sarge, who was homeless and on the back end of some substance abuse, a life of substance abuse, and had a hell of a hard life. So it was kind of about her too.
That's really cool.
Anyway, so I feel like Superman would have a lot more love and respect for these people than the average person. And I wanted to put that on the page and try to tell a story that mattered to me,
That's
and
awesome.
Ironically, when those stories came out, I caught shit from people who were like, "There's not enough action," and they kind of like summed up that Trolls stance. At the memorial, where it's like, he's the best because he's the biggest and the strongest. And people are like, "There's not enough Superman in it." I'm like, Superman's all over this thing. Yeah, but those aren't real. I'm like, no, it's real, bro. It's the Superman comic.
Yeah,
Right, dude.
Don't
Come
ring
on.
Kingdom Come if you,
Yeah.
It's like, geez, Louise.
But it was kind of funny, and it didn't bother me. That's one case in which the criticism did not bother me at all, because I knew that those readers didn't understand it, and they were coming at Superman from a different perspective than I was, and I was super confident in that story, and I knew I was telling a story that would matter to me and to some readers like you guys who really get it, and I love that you get it. I just wanted a story that kind of boils down. It's like my mission statement on the character and how much he means to me, and how much he means to my son, and how much I want him to mean to him.
Right.
So yeah, and anyway, so this is a long ass answer, but
It's okay.
It's all right. No,
it's really heartfelt, and it means everything. Kind of hearing it from your side, anyway. So we appreciate it. I kind of wanted to switch the gear from Superman over to Batman. I think Tales from the Dark Multiverse is one of my favorite things ever, and trying to see collaborations between like the likes of your peers. How does it work between getting your story together and not seeing the character in, I guess, a draft or a sketch, and kind of making them as gritty as you want to, or they're supposed to be, without actually seeing the character?
I'm sorry, I lost you for just a second. You say that one more time?
Just seeing the character beforehand. I'm sorry, I kind of like backed up from my mic. Before seeing your characters in life or on paper beforehand, how do you know how to make them as gritty, or what feeling to have? Do you see that in your head prior, or do you guys sit in a room and kind of figure it out together?
I write down a big thing about the character, and I send it to the artist. Like, here's what I had in mind. Here's this character's history. So in Tales Dark Multiverse, for example, we've got.
Dude,
Okay,
because
that
the
was a
Hush
tricky one.
stuff was crazy.
Say it again.
The Hush stuff was crazy.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Yeah,
Absolutely.
When they came to me to do that, they were like, like, we want to do Tales of Dark Multiverse again. We want you to do the first one. It's going to be the Batman one.
Yeah,
I was like, yeah. And he's
absolutely.
like, it's going to be Hush. And I was like,
Oh.
does it have to be? And they're like, yeah, it has to be. I was like, because I got this other thing. And they're like, no,
Does it have to be?
Yeah, that's the answer, right?
Yeah, I was like, okay. Because the tricky thing about Hush is that you kind of never get his clear motivation, what he wants to do if he were to win. Like, what's he trying to do? He's just trying to be in a dick.
Right.
Yeah. Essentially.
And so,
Right.
I was like, huh, okay. Because it can't be, there's not like a specific little moment. Like in a lot of the Tales Dark Multiverse books, like for example, the other Batman one, the Nightfall one, that's one in which what if John Paul Valley won and retained the cowl
Yeah.
at the end of Nightfall and Night's End. So that's a very clear thing where it's like this one, like a what if moment. Like what if this one little thing was different? With Hush, that's a little harder to do. And I was like, well, whatever. That's the gig. So let's do this. And I was like, well, what if we change something really early on where when his parents get killed, Bruce is taken in by the Elliots.
Yeah.
And then they kind of, so he never gets Alfred's influence.
Right.
No, yeah, there's no good, there's no moral compass in the way, there's no anything. He kind of just turns into the darkest version. It's
Yeah.
so
He
awesome.
just broods and goes crazy until
Yeah.
they finally put him in Arkham as
Yeah.
a kid.
Mhm.
Then he just becomes this super crazy version of himself. He never does his walkabout where he learns from all these amazing people. He doesn't get
No.
Alfred that loves him. He doesn't get any of that. He's just this crazy kid who gets made worse in Arkham.
Yeah.
So then Thomas Elliot becomes Bruce Wayne. Basically, he
Yep.
becomes like the Prince of Gotham. So we've got, what would Bruce Wayne look like after a lifetime in Arkham Asylum?
Right.
And then he emerges as Batman later, like the craziest version, as crazy as Batman kind of should be. Anyway, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
So I told him that. I told the artist that, Dexter, I was like, so we're going to get the craziest version of the thing. We want him to kind of look like Hush in a way.
Mhm.
Like here's how we're going to play it up. He's going to be based on, I'm going to make up a little song because that's my thing. about,
No, I love that.
Right.
yeah, thanks. It's like a nursery rhyme, creepy
Mhm.
rhyme about the bloody bat of Arkham.
Right.
And that becomes kind of the seed that becomes the new Batman. And so he came up with this idea, like different versions. He gave us different sketches, like how it might use the raps
Mhm.
and everything to make it look like Hush. And there were a couple that were just super rad. I knew that I wanted the Norm Brayfogle like little horns on the shoulders.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought
yeah. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
that. I love that. It shows
Yeah,
a darker
that was-
version of Batman.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was a really cool thing from my childhood that I always remember. It's like, wow, I like these horn things, and not everyone. Sometimes you'd see an artist use it, but not everyone did.
Right.
I thought it was pretty rad. So he brought that into it. That was my one request. That was like the horns and to use the bandages in some way.
Mhm.
And then he gave us these sketches, and there were a couple that were super clearly the one. So it's like, okay, these two are the ones. Like, and then we kind of batted back and forth which one was going to be, and elements from both. Yeah, it was a really exciting prospect to do my own take on Batman. I wanted something that I love the whole idea of the Dark Knights from Metal, and to be able
Yeah.
to put another one like that in the mix.
Oh, he
was-
stands for sure. He
Yes.
stands for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I really love that one, and we're kind of doing another one in that Batman Superman Authority story.
Makes me even more
Another-
Yeah,
excited.
I'm like, okay. Easy.
Another take on Batman that went wrong. It's going to be really exciting.
Nice. Looking forward to that.
So we wanted to kind of stay away from the generic questions or whatever, but
No, it's fine.
which comic book movie would you like to see moving forward get done, or even your adaptation of something, or somebody that you're a fan of, one of your peers, moving forward in any version of any, whether it be MCU or the DCU, anything?
Oh man,
If you
That's
could
a
pick
cool
one, I
question.
know it's hard to kind of nail it down to every idea or any aspect of something, but if you could pick one, what would it be?
well, if I'm going to say my own stuff, I would selfishly love to see Last God get made.
Oh, easy call.
That'll be really fun to see somebody else take. 'Cause there's still tons of stuff that fans haven't seen.
Oh, of course.
There's not a place for everything. You kind of get the impression, if you get the what's it called? The source book, Tales from the Book of Ages, that makes the whole thing playable as a D&D campaign.
Oh, wow.
right.
It's like this
That's
40-page thing that gives stats and everything.
Oh, that's
that
sick.
makes the whole thing playable as a D&D player. There's stuff on the different regions of the map that we haven't seen yet. There's
Nice.
stuff on the characters, the character classes, magic items, monsters, and a lot of the monsters have not been seen yet in the book. It would be, just because there's so much material and the artists and I all work so hard on it, it would be incredible to see all that come to life on the page or on the screen, on any kind of screen.
I agree.
Very
Um,
cool.
Let's see. If it was somebody, I feel like a douche just saying my own stuff though. Let me
Oh,
think
yeah,
of
yeah.
somebody
Go
else.
ahead.
Somebody else's work though. mean, we've already had. I mean, we live in the world where Hellboy exists, so I can't say Hellboy. I love the Hellboy stuff.
Yeah.
I would like to see. I don't know. We've already got Hellblazer. I think Ice Cream Man could be pretty cool, like an anthology
Oh, my
series.
goodness.
I knew
that's
Frank.
Frank.
I knew Frank was
That's
gonna
Frank's jam.
Oh my goodness, it's
His eyes got so big when you said that.
buddy. That is such a that's such a creepy series. It's so good.
It is.
I'm not a horror movie fan, but for some reason I love horror comics. I don't know what
Yeah.
it is. I don't like horror movies, but that
When it's
series
done
is
right.
crazy. What's that?
Sunrise is great.
Yeah.
I think some of those issues. I love the idea of an anthology horror series.
Yeah.
That kind of revolving around this town or this Ice Cream Man thing. I think that would be really cool. So I guess that would be my answer.
So
That's
as
solid.
sort of a follow-up to that, with the current movies that we know are coming out now, we do have an audience where there are people who don't read, and we tell them, read, you need to keep reading. But there are some people who are casual fans that like to come on our show and watch our reactions to trailers, the movies we just saw, and all those sort of things. So we have Eternals and a bunch of different movies that are coming out through this year and into next year. What's the one movie that you're looking forward to the most seeing in theaters?
Well, it's Green Knight, which I know has already come out. I haven't had time
Sure.
to see it yet. I've been just
that's
like
right.
chained to the computer.
Mm-hmm.
So Green Knight is my
really
answer.
good.
But if something that hasn't come out yet, God, because actually, and that's also a thing that I read. I go back and I reread
Right.
Tolkien's translation of the Green Knight all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I love the way that he interprets the language. I'm such a language nut, especially as seen through the eye of Tolkien. His version of Finn and Hengist and all these other like really old English texts that maybe not everyone knows about. I just love that stuff. So that one for sure. As far as comic stuff, I heard there was going to be another Hellblazer movie. You guys heard that?
I have not, but that is exciting if there is.
I think it's a
that'd be cool.
rumor. I don't think that is. I don't think it's a sure thing.
Really?
But if that's the case, I think it'd be super rad. And it would be apparently it's going to be another Keanu thing. And I thought the first movie was wrongfully maligned. It's not. It definitely does not. There's a lot of things about the character that
They changed.
are different. Yeah,
Yeah.
I really miss having him be like a Liverpool blue collar dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like from England. I want to see that. That's such an important part. I want to see like the Sean Bean Hellblazer.
I
you know?
agree.
Oh my gosh. That'd be
You know?
amazing. Oh my gosh, that'd be so sick.
That would be
Would
pretty
that be
cool.
cool? I mean, I know he's getting older now, but that's kind of who I see in my head.
Right.
Ah,
Yeah, movies can fix all that.
And then I think we might have to start wrapping it up here.
Oh no, sorry, I didn't realize.
No,
it would
you're
come out.
good. No, it's
Yeah.
perfect. The more you say, the better it is. But
We're all sitting here like, yes, yes.
say more. No, but lastly, we wanted to give you an opportunity. If there's anything you got coming up that you want to shout out, anybody stuff coming out, a friend of yours, colleagues, anything you want to shout out, just anything you want to talk about right now, and to give you the floor to do.
Oh man, shit! I wish I'd looked into some stuff that my friends are doing. I got a lot of friends doing some cool stuff for sure. Matt Rosenberg's got some really cool things coming out. He's a good guy. He's been at Marvel for a good bit, and now he's starting to do a lot of stuff at DC. And his books coming out soon at DC look incredible.
Nice.
Tom King, another friend of mine, is about to announce a big create our own thing he's mad excited about. That's going to be great.
Awesome.
Nice.
For my own stuff, there's been a little reshuffling of a couple of books behind the scenes. I had this big, insanely exciting thing I was going to be doing at DC, and we're still doing it, but it's been postponed a little bit.
Oh man.
In the meantime, though, there's going to be a creator shakeup on Action Comics coming up. So as Daniel Samperi's last issue on Action for a while is going to be.
Oh man, I loved him on it.
Well, he's great, and he's
Yeah.
crushing it. He's doing 1036, and that's his last one for a bit.
Wow.
And then Miguel Mendonça is coming on. He's this Portuguese artist that's been crushing it. He's did a Last Ride, just Justice League Last Ride with Chip.
Nice.
And now he's coming on to Action Comics for a few issues, and he's doing incredible work. His character designs for Mongol's channel. So we're going to see, Superman's got his crew. Mongol has got his as well.
Of course.
And we've already seen a couple of those characters, but we're going to see a few more that you've not seen yet.
I'm excited for that.
And
yeah.
his character designs are friggin' off the chain. So Miguel's work I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
And someone else is coming on to the book after Miguel that I think is going to give this new book a new level of prominence.
Sounds like he cannot say.
Yeah.
I can't say just yet because it's not announced. It's probably not going to happen until very end of the year or beginning of next year. But
Okay.
God, when it's announced, dude, it's going to be, you're going to flip out.
Hell of a tease.
Yeah, that's
Hell
a good tease.
Yeah, thanks.
Great.
Awesome, man.
So that my Alien thing is still going strong.
Oh,
Like,
I have to interrupt you. Alien, I'm not even kidding. As a fan of Alien,
Yeah.
this is so good, and you can definitely tell that you are a huge fan of Alien as well. I remember a while back I got a special edition Blu-ray, and it had a little comic book inside of it that you could read with it, and I was like, when will somebody figure this out and make it a great Alien comic?
Yeah.
You, sir, have done so. I can't hype up this series enough. It's amazing.
Number 6
so
just
much,
came
brother.
out, right?
I'm the biggest fan of that franchise, and when they gave me the call, well, I mean, I reached out to them when I saw the thing with everyone else, like, oh my God, Marvel's got it, and I just like kicked in the door with a shotgun, like, give me this book. I know what a fan I am of this book, and like, you don't know anyone. I'll ask me anything right now.
Right, right.
And they like straight up like Homer in the bushes, like.
You can have it, dude. You can have it.
Yeah, right, man. Chill.
Yeah. They and I didn't know this, but people behind the scenes in the office were already kind of pitching me to do that book. And when they found out what a huge fan I was, they were like, "Damn, okay."
Sold.
I mean, he really does love this stuff, and they started to look. They saw Marvel Zombies Resurrection, and were like, "Actually, this is kind of an Alien book already."
Also, one of my favorites. that is my personal favorite by far.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Easy.
Man, I put a lot of love in that book.
I could tell,
definitely
man.
like
I
an
could
Alien
tell.
book. So yeah, I'm super proud of it. And the arc, we just finished the first arc, as you guys know, and the next arc starts with number 7. Alien Sanctuary begins with issue number 7, and that is going to show us the alien in a very different context. It's about this religious group called the Spinners that have been persecuted on Earth. They're kind of like a Amishy kind of old world group on Earth. They've been persecuted, and they're given the United America is like, hey, run this terraforming colony for us, and it'll be annexed for you. Like it'll be your Utah. And so they do it. They go up there to terraform this place, and so we have this kind of Appalachian Mountains kind of place. And then everything goes horribly wrong, and then we see aliens in the context of like old world America, basically.
Ooh.
I feel like Santa's giving us everything we
there's
want for Christmas, and I'm hearing it. I'm just
Little
like,
treats, dude.
this is amazing.
Wow.
Thanks, man. I'm
So
really
sick,
excited about this one. It's a character I really love. The hero of this one is a character named Jane, she's dying of this degenerative disease, and because of her faith, she's not allowed to get it treated. This is a thing that she couldn't get fixed.
Gosh.
Because of her faith, she has to just kind of watch her body deteriorate.
Wow.
And she's on this moon, and she is put in this crazy circumstance. She has to protect her flock from the perfect organism, and the alien kind of represents
what a promo.
her fear of her own, like her body, like this thing growing inside of her and killing her.
Oh, wow.
So it's her against her true nemesis. I really like the character a lot.
If you were here to see everybody like eyes glistening, staring at the camera, right?
You just gave me chills, man.
Gosh.
Thanks.
So sick, man.
Gosh.
Oh man.
I'm really excited. This next arc is going to be really rad. I would have done it as the first arc, except I wanted to build up to it. I want to give them something more familiar first.
Of course.
Sure. Felt like those first 2 movies.
Mm-hmm.
So I really tried to toe the line between the first 2 films and the first arc, to build up to something now where we can kind of take a step out of the familiar and give us something a little new that we haven't seen before, which will then in turn lead to the third arc, which is going to be a fucking nuclear bomb.
Donovan is
sure,
shaking.
dude.
You didn't
So
realize
stoked
how
over here.
excited I am. I got my brother, and my brother loves the movies, and he loves Prometheus and all that stuff. And I'm like, bro, you haven't lived your life yet until you've read this series. And he talked to me, he's like, dude, I can't believe this. I feel like Ridley Scott did this. This is amazing. This is unbelievable.
Oh, man, that's
and I was like,
It's
yeah,
really
dude,
good.
told you.
It's really,
Yeah.
really good. The
great.
tones and everything about the writing for this first arc has been, it makes you feel like you're in the movie. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like you can tell that you have a true love and passion about the content. It's awesome.
It's everything.
Dude.
It's
I
everything. you
love
want from
hearing
it.
that because I definitely love it the way you say. So I'm really glad to hear that. This is awesome to hear.
That's awesome.
So yeah, Action Comics is getting real exciting now. We're finally, like, Superman is now in the Frazetta painting that I've wanted him in, for however long, or at least in the scripts he is. You'll see it on the shelf here in another month or so.
Okay.
The Frazetta Superman story that I wanted to tell. And Alien is Alien Sanctuary, this really exciting arc. I've got some creator-owned stuff come together, and another publisher that I'm really excited about, and I'm doing a kids book.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like it also has a little dark edge to it because that's how I do things.
Of course.
But it's
Yeah.
fun.
That's
It's
all right.
really fun with an artist I worked with before, Dustin Malik. I think that's all the stuff I have to pitch on my own.
Okay.
But I
Nice.
really hope people keep checking out Action and Alien because that's where my heart is right now. So in let's see, in October and November, we're going to see Red Sonja, Black, White, and Red. I have a short story in that anthology with Steve Beach, this horror savant artist, just this unbelievable artist that not a lot of people know about yet. But he's a friggin' mastermind. If anyone has read my webcomic on my site, The Lost Boys of the U-Boat Bremen, Steve drew that.
Awesome.
Oh, very
But
cool.
and he did the spin-off issue of Last God as well. With Dan
Okay.
Water.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
So he's doing this Red Sonja. It's the coolest fucking Red Sonja you've ever seen, and the most amazing. She's not this cheesecake thing. Like she's like just so like badass. I love the way he draws her.
That's awesome.
And then Batman, Superman, of the Authority in November.
I'm so excited for that. Like unbelievably.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. And that's with two artists. I know we're probably out of time, but real quick. So
Oh, no, you go.
Do you think?
that was going to be with Trevor Harrison, this incredible artist who was on 2000 AD before, and he did Deceased with Tom Taylor.
Nice.
It was going to be with him, and then they came out and said, actually, Trevor can only do about half the book. He can do 20 pages. And it's a double-sized 40-page book.
Oof.
So they were like, we're going to bring in Ben Templesmith.
Wow.
And Templesmith's style is nothing like Trevor's. I was like, okay, how are we going to do this? Because it would be really jarring if we just kind of didn't mention it.
Right.
Yeah.
And instead, I came up with it, since we had a little bit of time still, and I was still writing the script, I took the pitch that I had for the story, and I was like, well, that's not going to work. So we kind of started over, and I was like, well, let's do a story where we wrote it, where we played up the contrast. And so I came up with this story in which it's kind of two stories together, where it goes back and forth between Trevor's art and Ben's, and it totally makes sense for the story. It's not just happening in a way that's distracting.
Right.
It's happening in a way that you were seeing two worlds play out at once.
Organically, right.
I like
Yeah. I'm really excited about it. I'm really glad we found out beforehand that it was going to be two artists because it gave us a chance to do something really creative, something I've never really seen before in a book. So
Right.
I'm really excited.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah, even mentioning it sounds really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's November.
Nice, man.
Wow. I mean, this has flown by. I mean,
know.
this is like surreal for me just to be in this position right now with you guys, and we're talking to you. This is crazy.
Yeah.
This has been
Man,
awesome.
Thank you. And thank you for making the time. I want to come on the show again. Also for listeners, I totally dropped the ball, and it was supposed to be last week, and I life got in the way, and I completely screwed these
We
guys.
got
and
you
I'm
covered,
so-
bro.
It worked out.
We keep telling him it's fine, but he's beating himself up about it. It's all good, brother.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have been totally cool, but anyway, it was a super pleasure because I love the show, like legit. I've loved seeing the episodes you guys have done before. The production quality is crazy high for this kind of a show, and you guys do an incredible job. So
Shout
it's an
out to
honor be
Gorilla
on here.
Cross.
Well,
Shout out,
Appreciate
I'd
Quan.
that.
definitely love to come back and do another one.
You're more than welcome anytime.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Well, is there lastly anywhere we can find you? We mentioned your website. Any socials that you want to plug up?
Yeah, check out. I think my Instagram's down there. That at Phillip_Kennedy Johnson _Johnson is that's my Instagram handle. At Twitter, it's at Phillip K Johnson. Facebook's my full name, and PhillipKennedyJohnson.com for all my books and webcomics and things.
Awesome, man.
Wonderful.
It has been an absolute pleasure.
For me
Absolutely.
too, guys. Keep crushing it. It's an honor to be on here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
brother.
so much.
Thank you
Phil,
again
for
for
being here,
taking the
brother.
time. We will talk to you
Yeah, man.
soon.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Absolutely. Take care,
bud.
man.
Thank you.
You too.
And then